trap is green, stream is clean.
All right.
Okay, Egon.
So we're going out. We're not gray.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I fixed that like 3
From the
weeks ago.
industrial wastelands of Michigan to the.
I'm sorry. What?
I said I fixed that like 3 weeks ago. Well, I didn't. I don't know. I changed some setting and it started working again.
I like it. Glad it's working.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green Pack.
Cheer perversity.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Retractor Podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew?
Yep, we're all back. And back on Saturday night again. No Sunday cast. No 110-degree Sunday cast.
Well, it wasn't too bad last Sunday, but then again, I spent all day inside air conditioned, so can't complain.
Did get to see that the Money in the Bank match that I forego.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad I went to the NXT show.
Oh, it wasn't very good.
There was 2, maybe 3 really good matches. So both the ladder matches, the women's and the men's, was good. So and that's the thing about Money in the Bank. So that was good. And the Ronda Rousey one was like okay, because you got to see her like judo flip a 270-pound woman around, which was kind of interesting.
That's always amazing.
But yeah, then there's one match that was so. Well, I'm not sure it's boring. There's like between two. It was like between 2 guys that basically the audience hates. So one's Roman Reigns, who Vince McMahon really wants to make him the guy. It's like the head of the company.
Yeah.
Or not the head of the company, but he wants him to be like the next John Cena. Yeah. God damn it.
What happened?
Windows update. We should be fine.
Okay.
Although I did tell it to pick a time later and it didn't do anything. So if it suddenly goes down, that's what happened. And then Jinder Mahal is just kind of like, he was the champion like a while ago, which is kind of, I guess, vaguely interesting because he was, he's Middle Eastern.
Okay.
And he was like, he was with the company before, but basically got fired, for being boring and not really being that much in shape. And then he just got fucking jacked. So now he's just nothing but veins and muscles.
But still boring.
Yeah, still boring.
Veiny, boring.
And Roman Reigns, he's good at his job. He's not the greatest talker, but he's a good wrestler. He had a better shtick when he was with his crew called the Shield. But as what happens when every time, because they were like the Shield back in NXT. So whenever a group gets called up to WWE, like the first thing you do is like break them up, and then they become lesser on their own, and then they disappear forever.
Sounds like a good strategy.
So yeah, it was a match between them, and at some point somebody just had a beach volleyball, and the crowd was like doing the wave, and they just weren't paying attention to the match because they just so much they just wanted to ignore the yes, and they chanted a lot. They did a CM Punk chant. This is like a couple days after he got his ass kicked in another UFC match, so it's like CM Punk's cultural cachet is kind of low at this point, and they still like bring him up. They chanted Velveteen Dream at one point, which he's in NXT, so he's like, so they're just like intentionally just ignoring or chanting against the show very loudly, and the announcers are like trying to do their job and pretend that the crowd's really into it. They were not.
We're having a great night here, and then off microphone you hear like, "You suck, fuck you,
both of you. Why don't you just die?"
Crowd's really into it.
Crowd's really excited about this match.
Terrific.
Yeah, so there's some boring matches. The Bobby Lashley Sami Zayn match was pretty boring and really had no reason to be there. But then the women's ladder match was pretty good. They were doing some interesting stuff I'd never seen before. There was one part where like two ladies had a layer like they're friends in real life, but then they're kind of like weird acquaintances in the show, where it's like they want to be friends but they have to fight each other. So it's kind of like their things. So they're like both of them had an end of a ladder and they're kind of pushing and pulling back and forth while they're in the ring. And then there's four other people, but like half of them have been knocked out by this point. But like two more people entered the ring, and one, I think it was Ember Moon. She runs, and while they're like holding the ladder up, she like springboards off the ladder they're holding and hits another person like at the ropes. So I was like, that's pretty cool.
Who comes up with this stuff?
They do. They got a lot of time to figure that shit out.
I mean, is this the writers? Is this the performers?
No, that's the writers come up with like the storylines and some like one-liners and stuff, but the performance is usually that's always done by the performers themselves. They usually
the people that actually have to do this shit.
Yeah, because like there's like stuff that you have to agree to. It's just like, all right, you're gonna do this. Because that's how I figured out. There's a move that I see like a lot of like big guys do, like they climb the top turnbuckle and they do it's called a flying headbutt, where basically they jump off the top rope and hit them with their head.
Nothing could go wrong with that.
Yeah, well, a lot of guys who do that end up having like I don't know, coincidentally have a lot of head trauma issues later on in life, including killing their entire family. And
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That one guy did do that, didn't he?
But I figured out like, okay, why do the big guys do it? Like, why is that their big move? I found out like, because if you're fucking 7 feet tall and 400 pounds, a guy doesn't want to like have you jump 6 feet in the air and fall at him with your entire body weight. But if you just hit him with your head, that's cool. And and then a guy who weighs 400 pounds gets to jump up in the air and do something. So,
which doesn't happen.
No. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah. And then the men's match was pretty good at one point. So there's a guy named Braun Strowman. He's like their current just huge guy who kills everybody. And because there's like in this match, there's ladders everywhere. The ladders generally don't start in the ring. They're just under the ring. They're outside the ring. They're on the ramp that they come down on.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually it all started.
How to make the car look like, because cars don't jump. We learned from the Dukes of Hazzard. It's like, yeah, they don't jump and land and take off. Usually their parts break off. The transmission, the transaxles snap, things like that.
I don't think I like head over end because all the weight's in the front of it.
Yeah. It's, but it's like with wrestling. I'm always curious about I know they don't reveal a lot of it because it'd be like a magician revealing all the tricks.
They're more open about that now, but like, I find that interesting because like I'm not. That's one of the things that most of it's like. Here's a stunt performance performed live. That's what I find interesting about most. Is like, there's like a technical mastery to it. It's like, oh no, if somebody did this for real, that would fucking kill somebody.
Oh yeah, if you're doing shit like pile drivers, DDT, jackhammers, do that to someone in real life. Someone's gonna be driving a wheelchair with a spoon. I mean, your body is not meant to tolerate that kind of abuse.
Because like there's sometimes like they'll do like a replay of a thing and they'll do it in slow motion like to the lead up, and then right at the end it's in real time.
Yeah.
And like they do it like that because they like whatever safety precaution they do like right at the end, so like they're not actually like killing each other. Like they're kind of hiding that. Yeah. But then there's sometimes that they do a replay that's entirely in full motion, and it looks like he just killed that guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're very good at what they do. I mean, there's a reason it's cool.
Well, there's like some moves. There's like a safe way to like hold a guy up in the air, smash him on the ground, but you do it where you make him hit at like the base of his neck.
Yeah, because you don't want to traumatize the neck and head area.
Well, you don't want to go directly down the head because that'd kill somebody. So if they're tucking their head in and you kind of hit like shoulders and neck to the ground, there's safe ways to do that, and it looks like he just murdered somebody when they do that. Now, they do that in WWE often, but I showed you that one, those Buddy Murphy versus Mustafa Ali, where he does that thing where he grabbed him by, like, he did like a, jumps up, grabs him with his feet, and he does like a flip with it, and basically just shoved his head in the ground. And we're saying that, and they showed it fully in slow motion the entire time, because they look like he just killed him. And then we were trying to like sit there and dissect it, because like he didn't hit directly on his head. He hit kind of more like on his back and his shoulders.
Yeah.
And then also the way the guy flipped him, that he kind of landed on his ass and his legs too. So that was like that was also a cushioning thing.
Right.
But it looked like it hurt regardless.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff is brutally hard on their bodies, even the stunt stuff.
Yeah.
You can tell as the guys get older that there's a lot less flying leaps. And
yeah.
A lot more smacking and shoving. Because that's like when you watch like MMA fights and stuff, and sometimes you'll see one where the guy, it looks like he barely hit the guy, and then the guy starts posturing and falls back. It's like, yeah, that's what happens. Professional athletes just start hammered on each other. It doesn't last forever.
Yeah, so that was Money in the Bank. So we went to the correct show.
Yeah, well, good choice.
Because that would have cost like $400 to go to Money in the Bank.
Yeah, when you're selling tickets at that price and the crowd turns on you, that's because there's a big difference in $80 Rage and $400 Rage. I mean, it's not even inversely proportional. It'll get out of scale in a hurry.
To be fair, I'm sure they doubled security for that for that night.
Yeah, that's the thing about like producing stuff. You turn it out into the world, and you know, it's just like this Star Wars movie debacle recently. I mean, it's like they spent a lot of fucking money making that movie. They turn it out into the world, and it's not received well, and by anyone really.
Well, I hear some people like it, but they don't say it's a good movie. They just say it's enjoyable. If you get past the first, like apparently like the first half of the movie is really slow and boring, but then the second half is kind of exciting.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff with those Star Wars movies, you got to sift through the fucking nonsense. Like, okay, where's the real critique of this movie? I don't think they're trying to turn us gay. What's the real criticism? It's like The Last Jedi. It's like there's legitimate criticism of that movie, and then there's like Ryan Reynolds is some undercover agent of the transgender union trying to, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Did you not like the movie? What did you not like specifically about the movie?
You mean Ryan Johnson?
Or Ryan Johnson, yeah. I always get those two guys mixed up.
They both, Deadpool, whatever.
But no, I mean, the point should be, when I equally review movies, no matter what franchise it is, were you going to make that movie? It's like, were you really going to get around to making that movie for, $80 million, $200 million? Because otherwise, shut the fuck up. I mean,
most of the reason I didn't see it is because they fired Lord and Miller.
I know.
It's like, that's the movie I want to see. I want to see the movie they wanted to make, and they told me fuck you, and I told them fuck you.
Yeah, I don't know much about that whole drama, but I whenever I hear about they have this horrible clusterfuck production cycle, I'm not thinking this is going to be great. So yeah, it didn't enthuse anyone, I'm sure.
And Ron Howard really hasn't made an exciting film in decades.
Yeah, I don't like Ron Howard at all as a director. So
I thought Rush was good. I liked it, but it's very specific, and it's its subject matter, and it's not. And for racing, it's probably not as exciting as it could be, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
That was the Formula One
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
And I guess was Master and Commander? Did he do that one, or was it Heart of the Sea that he did, or did he do both?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Master Commander.
Master and Commander was totally no. I don't think that was.
Fuck, who directed that?
No, let me look it up because it's a movie I own. I like it. Cool movie. One of
Yeah, he did that Heart of the Sea one that was like Moby Dick, right? It was basically
yeah,
retelling of
which
Moby
it
Dick.
was kind of interesting but very slow.
Yeah.
Peter Weir directed Master and Commander.
What else does he do?
Well, he's the guy who did what was the one that he did that I really liked? Well, he did Gallipoli. That was an interesting movie.
Oh, so the Terror got picked up for season 2.
That's good. I enjoy The Terror.
Still need to watch that.
It's good.
It's hard to
No.
watch AMC things.
Yeah. That was Russell Crowe's best movie, I think.
Master and Commander.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a cool movie. I mean, it's amazingly interesting movie. Not necessarily subject matter that like you think would be widely appealing, but it's like, oh, this is a cool movie. I don't understand exactly what's going on or why, but I'll learn.
But yeah, my favorite meme so far from the Solo debacle is are you aware of the Reddit thread prequel memes?
No.
Okay, don't worry.
So I shouldn't go right now and start looking
No,
at things.
it's like people. It's amazing how far they go to like take everything from the prequel movies and like make it far, like try to blow it up as like some huge revealing thing, or just make it good at all. Like they've literally taken almost every line of dialogue for that movie and tried to make a meme out of it.
Oh, okay.
It's stupid.
A hideous waste of time.
But occasionally funny. So like they're really like cheering for an Obi-Wan movie. Like that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
But because the lackluster performance of Solo, the Obi-Wan movie is on a hiatus.
Yeah, all Star Wars movies outside the main trilogy are now suspended, I heard.
Even the Rian Johnson one.
No, outside the main trilogy. I
Well,
don't
yeah,
know.
his is outside the main trilogy.
Then probably,
They after Last Jedi, they gave him his own trilogy that he was going to do within the Star Wars universe.
Oh, okay. So maybe, as far as I know. I mean, I'm just reading a blurb.
Okay.
Was it another follow up to the interesting Senate races in some system? Because I know there's supposed to be a Rogue Squadron movie, and there's supposed to be a couple other ones. So I mean,
Supposed to be a Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I think they do need to stop.
But they had, well, I mean, it could be well. That's the thing I like the Red Letter Media guys pointed out is they actually didn't hate the Solo movie because the one thing, it wasn't about a bunch of magic Jedis and everything. It was basically like a heist movie set inside the Star Wars universe. So there wasn't really a whole lot of the Empire. Like they were like kind of just on the outset. They were kind of like scenery. They weren't like doing anything. It wasn't Jedi's and the Empire fighting each other. It's like here's this kind of cool world where we're doing stuff in.
Yeah. I still might watch it at some point.
Yeah, I'll see it at some point.
Rush out to the theaters.
But anyway, so the meme I liked is it was Thanos talking to like his dream version of Gamora. Like he's having a dream. It's like her as a little child, and like she goes, "Did you boycott Solo?" And he's like crying. He goes, "Yes, I did." And it's like, "And what did it cost you?" And he goes, "Everything."
no, some of the prequel memes are good, but other ones are just.
They're very forced, but some of them like work when they shouldn't. Because there was a battle at some point between sequel memes and prequel memes, but prequel memes just had so much more output than sequel memes. And now I don't know if like people actually like that stuff, or it's because I've clicked on it so much that Reddit just feeds me that shit all the time. So not even subscribe to it. It just
I
gets...
get fed a lot of prequel memes when I read it. I don't ever click on
Okay.
them. So
Maybe it's just popular.
popular.
I don't know.
There's actually like another thread of like downvote prequel memes. Like there's a big movement for that. So.
I get a lot of the scary story stuff fed to me, and then a lot of model building stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
And because I was excited to learn, because I've got this giant Millennium Falcon model to build. I was like, I'm going to hit all the model websites and see what I can find out. And there's a lot of cool stuff, and a lot of rage too. It's like, whoa, it's supposed to be fun. A lot of anger.
Why are women building models?
Oh, not that. People posting something like, I tried it this way and this worked for me. Well, you're a fucking noob. You suck. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I kind of expected that. But then it like gets into personal attacks, and it's like, what percentage of the population even does this? That we're going to personally attack each other on Reddit over how you built your horribly expensive model kit.
Oh, they do that because if you go to, there's a couple of Reddit threads, like Reddit 40K, where they just post a bunch of weird shit. But at the same time,
Thin your paints. Fuck you. You thin your paints.
There's a fucking story right now. There's Warhammer 40K lore, but they're gonna make it into kids' books. And this is a fucking genocidal fucking, like, everybody's trying to kill each other and wipe out life in the universe, but for kids. And
well,
so,
I think if you look at the mood of the country, it might be time.
but the people behind it have gotten death threats from the community because it's like, this is such a fucking stupid idea. Like, this is not meant for children. Like, we're gonna kill you. And then it's like, whoa, you could have just said this is not a good idea. You don't have to go with like, I'm gonna fucking kill you and your family and string you up in their house. And like, it's not that level of outrage.
We're trying to expand our market so we can make more of this shit rather than go bankrupt.
No, I mean, their whole thing is they're only trying to do this that way because everybody like my age and older have like already bought all the fucking models they're gonna buy, so they're trying to get into the next generation, so they keep going. It just makes sense as a pure marketing scheme, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I believe, because it, for like the first week they announced it, they just made memes out of the cover art or cover work they did for the books and stuff they released. And so it was like these little, like, all these are Imperium, like, man-made factions. It was like, oh, little Isabel goes with her mom to archaeological sites to uncover old fossils. And then it was like, then the story takes a dark turn. Her family was slaughtered by mutants, and she took up a bolter and cried fury and killed a bunch of stuff and then lost her arm. And then just like her, like a half a cyborg body as the other cover art and shit. And it's actually pretty goddamn funny. That'd be cool if it was actually that way. But yeah, it's model community.
Bait and switch children books.
The model community is not as passive and nice as they would seem to be.
Well, I find that generally most people are cool, and usually I talk to people. I don't put pictures of shit that I build up. I'm not that good. I'm not trying to impress anyone, but I do like to talk to people. Like, I like that one thing you did, and 99.9% of that has been cool. I'll either get ignored, or they'll tell me, or they'll refer me to something functional. But then there's weird stuff, never really directed at me, but stuff I'm reading, like 3 things down about, like, how to make thin paint with this kind of thinner and get this effect, and it's like, that sounds cool, and somewhere like 10 comments down, fuck you appears. It's like, well, where did this turn come in? But then sometimes you find out it's like a long running thing, and it's like a feud between these guys, and someone has a fake account and they're just getting on awful shit completely unrelated to anything going on, and it's like, oh, people are just fun.
I mean, I have sometimes too much time to waste at work on Reddit threads, so I've found a couple recently. I'm sure they're very popular and a lot of people know about for a long time. But there's one called and it's just H and a bunch of M's, and it's just people doing awkward shit that doesn't seem to make any sense. Like a guy spraying his car with a hose at full blast in a torrential rainstorm outside, and it's just like, oh, okay.
What's the story behind this?
And then because my wife was like, well, maybe he's trying to get the soap off. Like, no, he just has a hose. He's spraying that car, and you could tell it's raining.
I'm with you, God.
And I was like, okay. And then the weirdest one I found the other day when I was at work on break was there's this medallion that somebody that is very uncomfortable with cats' assholes designed to go around their tail.
Oh,
It looks
yeah.
like the cat's wearing a butt plug.
Yeah.
It is just like the comments on it were like, "Oh, for $5.99 you can cover up your cat's anus with this nice gemstone." And then the next comment down is like, "For $5.99 you can explain to your friends your cat's not sporting a butt plug. it has a sparkly anus medallion over its butthole." It was just
Yes,
fun.
with that.
And then the next one after that I found amusing was, supposedly this is a bot somebody made, and they post shit for HGTV stuff all the time. But it was just like, this is the HGTV's programming format. "I am a part-time daycare worker, and my husband breeds geckos. Our housing budget $1.3 million.
Oh yeah, I love. I'm a volunteer at a homeless shelter. My husband's an assistant hamster trainer. Our budget for this home is $3.9 million. Sometimes people come on that show, and it's like, she's a homemaker, he's an accountant, they have 9 kids. Their budget for a house is, it's like we want a 10-bedroom house kind of outside of Astoria, New York, and it's like, yeah, it's about the $5 million range. It's like, oh, so where's the fucking meth lab they're running, or whatever? This lifestyle? That's what I really want to see.
I like some of the creative ones. There's people that commented like, "Husband 1 and anonymous sex bot, $1.9 million." It's just like stupid shit like that, or it's husband 1, 2, and 3, and then somebody asks why there's 3 husbands. They're like, "You need 3 incomes to own a house." Now, and it's like, I can't disagree with that. But I mean,
Bill, Jeff, and Sandy are in a
Polyamorous.
polyamorous relationship with Becky, Sandy, and their golden retriever.
But no, I mean, other than that, there's like the OSHA thread's pretty good sometimes. There is one I found this morning where a guy is in full coveralls. He has a hard hat on. Then he has a cutting torch, and it's perched between his knees pointed down towards the hose and his pant leg and his boots at full flame while he's trying to get his ear protection on.
Nothing bad will happen there.
Yeah, it's like, come on, really? Like,
If he has the gases too much one way, it's just a hard flame. It's not cutting through stuff yet.
Oh, I know, but it's like one of those hoses is oxygen, the other one's pure gas. I can't imagine flame hitting that.
Nope.
Be a good thing. So, but no, Reddit's pretty interesting to find. That's pretty much my go-to site for killing time half the time anymore.
Do you ever go to Malicious Compliance?
No.
That's a good one. It's basically like it's all work stories where somebody like a new boss was like trying to wave their dick around and try to make but the worker who gets paid less knows exactly what to do to make stuff work.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you need to do it this way because I've been working here 5 years. I know what I'm doing. And they're like, fuck you, listen to me. And they do exactly what the guy says. And like everything goes to shit. It's like, what are you going to do? Fire me? I did exactly what you fucking said. And then that guy gets fired. So that's Malicious Compliance.
Well, I've just added that. I could probably write some stories on that. Tom's $1 million mistake. I see they're at the end scene of Annihilation because I can hear the music clearly in here.
Yeah, does that movie have any special features on it and stuff like that, or is it?
I'm sure it does. I got him the Blu-ray, so
okay.
It's got like an hour of extra stuff.
I've been playing Fallout New Vegas recently.
What do you think of that?
I want to like it, but the game won't let me. Oh, it crashes like every half hour to an hour.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The game on release was not a very good game.
The creators, there's a studio called Obsidian, and they make really, well, I don't want to say good. They make good story-driven games. So emphasis on story, and not so much games. So yeah, they basically took the technology from Bethesda and made this game on their own. And so when it came out, it was buggy as shit, but it had an interesting story. where basically like Las Vegas somehow didn't get nuked, and so
Yeah.
it's thriving in the middle of the desert. I mean, you still have to deal with like the result of a nuclear war, but you know, Vegas is okay.
Yeah, because isn't that the one where the people at the one hotel that's Roman themed live like Romans, and the people at the other ones live?
Well, they're separate. Well, I'm not sure about that. I haven't got. But yeah, there's two factions. There's the NCR, which is the Northern California Republic,
Yeah.
and they're just kind of like the big bureaucracy trying to put things back together in California. And then you have like the Caesar Legionnaires or something like that, or something like that.
Right.
And they're all like Caesar themed. They're all like slave trading and stuff like that, and so they're pretty reprehensible. But yeah, they have they look like Romans and stuff like that. Weirdly, I don't know if they just didn't do, if this is intentional or if they just we only got, everybody only gets one line to get one chance to do one line read. Because there's like 100,000 lines of dialogue in this fucking game. They're all voiced. Some people call him Caesar and other people call him Khazar.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, did somebody read this wrong or is that intentional? Is that a character thing? Or I was like trying to figure that out. Like, it's like, do characters from certain like places on the map, like, do they have a different accent and that's why I call them Khazar?
Dialect thing?
Yeah. Or they just fuck this up in the recording studio. And then you are a courier, and you get shot in the head in the beginning of the game, and then you wake up and you get to create your character, and then you have to like figure out like why the fuck somebody shot you in the head.
Usually a good thing to know.
And then there's like 4 different factions in Las Vegas, or New Vegas, what they call it now. There's the one, it's called Lucky 38. It's like a casino, and it's run by a computer called The House, or Mr. House, or something like that. Because the house always wins. And like nobody gambles in the casino. They call them Securitrons. That's his robots. And they're like, they basically keep New Vegas protected from all the outside elements.
Oh, okay.
And then there's like I think it's called like the White Glove Society. It's kind of like the schmaltzy, rich schmaltzy or fancy pantsy kind of thing. And then there's the Omertas. And they're like, yeah, we run a big whorehouse. And then there's like another group, and they're basically like classic like gangsters, like Las Vegas gangsters.
Oh, okay.
What are the sides? Yeah, there's some interesting side stories, but one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to mod this game, because like all Bethesda games are like super moddable,
Right.
and and I've seen screenshots of this game modded where it basically looks like a modern video game. So I try to do that. It doesn't look like a modern video game, but it does look better than its original form. Mostly because like way higher texture resolution, so everything kind of looks crisp, but doesn't necessarily look like it belongs there.
This is oddly shiny in a dull world.
There's an upgrade where, because the original game it only like cached like 2 gigabytes of RAM, so now you have to get an upgrade or cache 4 gigabytes, and that's where it helps to like have all these extra texture maps you download, and that's how it can make things look like higher resolution and look better. I got some performance mods that will help it keep from crashing, including the anti-crash one. It doesn't help. Well, okay, it does help it quit from crashing, but in a particular way that crashes even worse when it doesn't help. So before, if something weird would happen, the game would just crash.
Yeah.
And then you could exit out and start the thing again. So now it'll keep it from just immediately crashing. But sometimes, even if it keeps it from crashing, it'll like just load forever. It'll never load what it's supposed to. It'll just like start load forever. And then
Okay.
and then
That's a loop, huh?
and you can't, and it does it in a way where you can't bring up the task, where you can't like access the task manager to just like manually close it. So I have to turn off my computer when it crashes.
Oh, boy.
the one way I found a way around it slightly is if I go to restart my computer, and it's a common crash and it'll work this way, but if it's a different crash, it won't. But I go to restart my computer, and then it'll ask me, like, because I have Steam open, it's like, this program is open. Are you sure you want to restart your computer? And I hit no, and then it closes the game, and then I can restart it again.
Okay. That's why I don't play video games on PC.
But I mean, it's this game. Like,
Yeah.
I've probably never played a game that has crashed this much before.
No, it had a shit ton of bugs and crashed all the time on the Xbox 360. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine why it wouldn't be the same way on the PC.
But yeah, it was interesting to mod it. I wish there was an easier way to mod it, because I thought there was like a section in the game where you can just download mods and it does it automatically. But I had to do a bunch of shit where, like, I had to, like, get into the files and, like, change numbers around in certain files and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Mostly all I had to do was just there's like a data folder that holds all the texture mapping and all that shit, and you just dump shit in there and it'll just figure it out automatically somehow.
Right.
But the other stuff was more inane and complicated.
Annoying.
But it was interesting to do, because that new Fallout game is coming out like in October or November or something.
Yeah, I haven't actually watched any of that stuff yet. Isn't it just a new area again, a new story? Or is it more than that?
It's more of a survival building game, like Rust or
Like Ark?
yeah. It's more like that, but like Fallout. Now there is a full-on single-player game,
Yeah.
but it is because there's never been like a multiplayer Fallout game before, so this is that. So there'll be like, when you hop into your game, there'll be instances where like you'll kind of join if you want to. You can opt out of it, but there'll be like 8 other people in your world, and you can like work together or just stay apart or whatever. But like everything you do you will affect the world together.
Yeah.
And like they're more emphasizing the base building stuff from 4, so kind of shit like that. And I think they're doing something so like when you log out, somebody can't just destroy your home or whatever. They have like a thing where it's like everything you build can get packed up into like this thing you have, and then you just hit it. And so if you log into a map, if you log onto like a server at the time, if somebody else doesn't have the house built there or whatever, then it'll just like your fort that Yuri built will just like build itself up, just like pop into like, hey, it's it. But if something else is already there, then it won't do that. But then you have the thing in your inventory, and you can just like go take your fortress somewhere else and just like pop it up, and it'll just build itself like automatically for you.
Well, that's nice, because that'll stop being annoying like any other base building multiplayer online game where it's like you leave for any amount of time and everything just
Don't sleep. Don't ever
Yeah,
stop
don't-
playing.
And that's why I never really got into like Daisy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just because the servers would always reset and you lose half your shit anyway. And most of the time, players would raid your shit and take everything and be
Yeah.
back to square one. Which made it interesting, but it also killed any kind of getting into the game.
So it looks like they're trying to do something like that, but avoiding those pitfalls.
Oh, okay.
Which,
Good.
well, maybe make it less exciting, but more approachable.
I'd rather have it be more approachable. I mean, excitement.
Yeah.
Excitement's nice, but yeah.
I'm not dumping. Well, I probably will dump 100 hours in the game, but I don't want to dump 200 hours in the game.
I don't know if I have enough time to dump 100 hours into any video game anymore, but that's just me.
Well, that's just priorities, Andrew.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I've dumped hours in other things like model building and painting and other stuff. So
Yeah, I do a lot of that.
or looking at Fortnite porn, which I learned today is a real thing for some reason.
All porn is the thing.
No, I know,
and a
but at
real
the same time, it was just like I looked at just other shit.
Just
like,
type Tide porn into your computer and watch what comes up.
I know, but the same.
Like the detergent?
Yes. Either that or it'll be a menstrual thing.
I can't say I can't.
Roll
forget.
Tide.
But no, it's just something where like literally, Yeah, just there was something on Reddit today where it was like once Elmo's mom found all the Fortnite porn under his bed, she knew she would never hold a baby again. And it was like Fortnite porn, huh? Like I kind of want to see what the fuck people are coming up with for fucking video game porn, considering I don't think there's even any carnage at all in that. There's killing, but there's no like blood or anything in that game.
People don't have to kill each other to fuck each other.
No, I know, but I'm just saying there's not really a lot of graphical assets in that game.
There's enough. There's a lot of skins in that game.
But at the same time, so I was just interested in like, I wonder how big a thing this is, and like, yeah, there's enough of a selection.
Oh yeah, well yeah, it's with all, because I remember there's like, I think I read an article on Kotaku would talk about like the weirdly large and coordinated, fuck, what's it? What was that game with it was a team shooter where you had the like Reinhardt, the guy with the shield and stuff like that. It was a fucking Blizzard game. Overwatch.
I was like, you owned it.
Yeah.
Like,
So yeah, there was a weirdly coordinated and large portion of Overwatch pornography that seems to be all made in South Korea.
I saw Rick and Morty porn once, like animated. I was like, "What's this? Oh, this is wonderful."
I mean, I've seen some really bizarre stuff just cruising the internet, but at the same time, I mean, I knew parody stuff was out there. There's Bob Burgers porn, there's Scooby-Doo porn, there's a bunch of weird shit, but at the same time, it's like, I guess I didn't think... I knew some video games, yes, because, like, Tomb Raider, yes, very popular, very busty character that just explores tombs and nothing but hot pants and a tank top. But at the same like, certain video games, I was like, it's not like there's gonna be a Banjo-Kazooie porn tab, is there? Is the...
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a furry thing. Furry porn is huge.
So I'm just always amazed, I guess, by the extent people get...
Go into the Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, there's a lot of weird, horrible shit down that road.
I don't want to, is the thing. Like, I have a hard time...
Nobody wants to. You just have to.
I just have a hard...
choice. At some point, it's like decision is out the window.
Well, I know, but the same... It's just something where, like, I've talked to other people about that, especially at the shop where I go gaming and stuff, where somebody was like, yeah, have you seen crushing porn? I'm like, crushing porn? It's like, oh, yeah, just a woman in high heels stepping on fruit. And that's porn. I'm like, really? That's what people are getting off to these days? Is just people stepping on produce?
You get deep, it's people stepping on guinea pigs and stuff. That's dark web, but yeah.
Oh, God. Sorry, just not...
Well, it's one of those, those stories we talk about, like, talk about, like, that Glow documentary, and it's like this lady still does, like, wrestling, but it's like it's like with her husband, and it's in her, like, living room. It's not even like a ring set up, and it's like, it's not even a good match. It's like, oh, nobody's watching this for like an entertaining wrestling match. Somebody's jerking off to this.
You know you've devolved as an entertainer when it goes beyond they're here to hear my ideas, my concepts. It's like, no, they're just jerking off to somewhere I've lost my way.
My fans have grown up, but now they have a checkbook.
Yeah, now they have money, a computer, and apparently no social life.
And as much disposable income as...
That's like that one guy was talking, speaking of disposable income. Who's the guy? Floyd Mayweather. Have you seen his line of watches and stuff? I mean, Floyd Mayweather sells all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But these like $20,000 watches that are just the gaudiest fucking thing you've ever seen. And some guy was coming up with a tagline for that, like, "Are you a person with no taste and lots of disposable income?" we have what what you need.
Do you care about?
Here's a quote that says, "Do you really? I don't really care."
Do you care about the name more than what it's attached to? Then buy this watch. I mean, shit. If you watch like the Joe McHale show on Netflix, like pretty often they cover all the reality shows just like they did when he was on Talk Soup and shit. But it's amazing how many rich reality show people have a jewelry line. Where it's just like,
Oh, yeah.
it's like so and so from this show has a jewelry line. It's like, how many people have a fucking jewelry line? Like,
Well, yeah, that's kind of the shift in the economy. Is like, oh, people don't have like, everyday people don't have money anymore. But there's like these super millionaires that if we like cater to them, we can sell less product for like the exact same amount of profit. By just creating exclusivity, through nonsense and marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, I never got that. I mean, I like exclusive products. Like, I like Rolexes, but I don't necessarily want them to be bejeweled and made out of gold. Stainless steel is fine with me. I just like the functionality of them.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have it just to have it. It's like Bugattis. It's like, they sort of make sense, but there's shit out there that's just as fast. I mean, there's not much, but you can go fast for a lot less money than, like, what's the Chiron? $4 million now, or $2.5 million, or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, who's buying that? It's not that fast. I mean, it is.
Well, it's like Ferrari. They just have like they have they don't make a lot of cars, but as soon as they release their car line that year, it's already sold out because they just have a lot of people, millionaires lined up who just pay for a new Ferrari every year.
Yeah.
It's like they're not even making Ferraris for a consumer public. They we just like privately make Ferraris for our millionaires out there.
Yeah, everything's becoming Elysium.
Well, you see what Trump was talking about his next tariff action was going to be?
What's he gonna tear up now?
20% on foreign cars. And he's like, you need to make them in the U.S. I'm like, motherfucker, they already do. It's like, how many, there's like Subaru, fucking Toyota, Mitsubishi, BMW, fucking...
Don't forget the American companies.
No, I mean, they all are in
you
Alabama,
mean like
Indiana.
just all cars are...
Yeah, they're...
Well, all trucks are made in America.
Yeah, I mean, it's something where, yes, not every car from that brand is made in America, but at the same time, his whole reasoning of, like, I don't want to see BMWs and Mercedes ruling the streets of New York. And it's
Unless they're my BMWs and Mercedes.
And it's like, this doesn't make any sense because these people are buying these cars not because it's the cheapest car you can buy in America. They're buying it because they have money and it's a fucking status symbol. So I don't know what his point is.
His point is to destroy
the American economy,
Western economic order, and to realign it to something that I guess will benefit America. I don't know, or will benefit some Americans. And it's a way to keep his loyal fan base of wonderful people. It's like, yeah, fuck them foreigners. I mean, it's just, that's what he's appealing to. There's nothing real behind it. I mean, there is, but it's not something that's going to benefit you or me.
It's like the guy at work that's kind of stupid and racist, and he just says those kinds of things, and he's just catering to them. It's like, yeah, that's my thought.
Oh, kind of like the Fox News host that said the camps they were keeping the kids in of black people would love to live there.
What? Really? Did somebody say that out loud?
Yeah,
Yes.
a Fox News reporter did.
And did he get
Say-
fired?
No, she did.
She said something like the place where they had the kids are she was talking. She pretend she was talking to like a black friend, and that they made the comment that those are better than the ghettos that they've lived in.
Oh, okay. An internment camp is better than a standing structure. I don't know, maybe, but I don't.
It was.
If someone said that,
It was three white ladies on Fox News.
Yeah, if someone said that on CNN, it might be worth like following up or like, what do they mean? But if they're saying it on Fox, it's like, oh, they're just dog whistling to racists. They're basically saying this is where the black people are going to be. Just hold on for President Trump a little longer. He will lead us to white salvation.
But no, just
Speaking of racism, did you hear about Space Force?
yeah. There's been a lot of memes on the internet about that. About like, here's my new Space Force uniform, and it's somebody in a Master Chief costume or a Stormtrooper outfit.
I like all the people correctly using Starship Troopers as the building blocks to the Space Force. It's like, all right, yeah, you.
Create a fascist state
Yeah.
that evolves and exists for war.
Let's not establish a foothold in the solar system and make it easier to travel and go explore the world. Let's just make sure that whatever happens, we have a fighting force in fucking space.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you dig deeper into what the bill he signed and shit, it was more to like negotiate, manage satellite traffic and manage space debris, and that actually sounds intelligent and worthwhile.
Oh, but they just call it the Space Force and people ran with it?
And it makes it sound fucking retarded. Like,
it's like the Air Force. I mean, all they do is move shit around with airplanes.
Well, the thing that I was listening to some people talk about that actually know about this shit, and they said they've had Space Command in the Pentagon since the 70s, which is all about moving satellites around, watching space debris, and it's like we already have this branch. It's just part of the Air Force.
Yeah, the Air Force usually does a lot with the space shit.
Yeah, but again, this is more. Look over here. Don't look at the fucking tax plan that's going to bankrupt the country. Pay no attention to that. We're gonna slam imports on cars that really no one can afford, and we're gonna do all this stuff, and we're gonna tariff steel. But see, a lot of the thing is like the Chinese and the Europeans are like, we're gonna tariff your steel. It's like most of the steel mills here are closed because you fuckers don't buy steel from us. So go tariff it at 200%. Go ahead. And then the Chinese are gonna fuck. Supposedly they're gonna fuck Iowa because they're gonna quit buying soybeans and crops. It's like, well, that'll only work till they start starving to death. But maybe they have the fortitude to. It's like, we will die before we give in to.
They'll just fish over the entire ocean until it's devoid of any life.
So that's devoid of life, and then we'll all be fucked. And a new food rage in China will be plankton treats. It's like, will this have a long-term effect? It's like, I don't think more than a week ahead. Take it a week at a time.
When can we start eating people?
Yeah, how long? There's plenty of those. I like it how people outnumber certain varieties of insects now. It's like, wow, I never thought we'd see. I mean, not a lot, but there's some insects that there's actually more humans than there are those insects. But how many squirrels are there? Isn't there some outrageous number of rats and squirrels, though?
Well, I think rats almost be impossible to estimate. Squirrels probably be easier, but I mean.
Well, there's just like billions and billions of things like that. But then.
I think there is like an actual whole department like New York and bigger cities where it's just somebody that goes around with a heat thermal camera and a bunch of equipment and determines the rat population size in the city and how healthy it is. But I don't know if that's widespread enough to get an accurate gauge in any country.
I mean, statistics. It's a fucker of a thing. You can predict a lot of things accurately with very little information.
True.
If correctly applied.
If it's not fake news.
I mean, yeah, it's just... Oh, that was another thing that made me laugh my ass off this week, because it was just like... I don't know how... Maybe it's been reposted a lot of times, but it was just like understanding Trump speak, where it's like fake news that makes me look bad. Have you heard this? I've never heard this before. It's like some people are saying, no one's saying this. And then it's like, can you believe? Because then I can't remember what that one was. I think it was just like... It's like, I want you to think this and not the other thing. It's like, yeah, just basically him calling on all his bullshit or whatever. And it's like, yeah, it's very accurate. Because what you said is very accurate too, Nathan. It's like, as much as it really does suck him, basically fucking setting up internment camps and being an asshole and all the tariffs and everything else and every other fucking jackass thing he's done from Twitter to whatever, thing he's been in court for this week for some reason. Like, he's gonna fucking ruin this country, and he's getting away
just
with
in time for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Which happened. Giant Bomb just dropped a feature they were doing because Abby was doing this stuff recently where it's in the lead up to a holiday. Like, they'll play a game like a week, like 2 months in advance that's holiday themed.
Yeah.
And so they're starting to do a 4th of July, but then just all the comments on it just became about like, this is tone deaf to the current situation. It's like, all right, we'll cancel the feature.
What were they gonna play?
They played Oregon Trail, Well, Abby was dressed as Uncle Sam,
Hmm.
and Dan was dressed as something, and then the second game they played was they played L.A. Noire for some reason, which I wouldn't really guess is like a patriotic game or anything like that, but it had American flags in it and stuff like
I would have guessed they put like Far Cry 5 or something.
that. Yeah,
A
maybe.
bunch of fucking patriotic shit in that.
That would have been good, appropriate.
Have you played that yet?
Yeah, I've played like half of it.
Oh, 'cause
That's like the one more recent game I've actually played and owned.
I vaguely would like to talk about the ending with you, but never mind if you haven't got the ending. never
Well,
mind.
I haven't beaten everybody. I haven't beaten Faith, and I haven't beaten the main cult leader. So
Yeah. No, yeah, it's after you beat everybody. There's multiple endings, but there's kind of the main
you
ending.
jizz on an American flag while shooting a gun in the air, setting it on fire at the same time.
No.
I'm gonna be disappointed. Like,
No, but it is quite unexpected, but makes things make more sense somehow.
as long as it's not the ending of Bioshock Infinite, then I'll be happy.
Well, that was pretty easy to understand.
What, just the multi-universe stuff, or what? I can't.
No.
No,
barely-
I didn't like Bioshock Infinite. I thought it was
No, it had a lot of interesting ideas that didn't really come together very
You
well.
can tell it was rewritten at some point. It's like, oh, weren't they supposed to do? Oh, I guess they're not doing.
Well, I like some people like going back to it and saying like, because like one of the points they make in that game is like, you know, the oppressed working class, you know, because you have those two different timelines you set up where it's like if you help one side or you help the other side, and it's like, see, no matter who you choose, it's both is going to be awful no matter what you choose. So when you help the working class people, like, you know, from being repressed, yeah, we can talk about Insignificance for like 10 minutes if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
So that's a weird movie.
It looked kind of weird. I didn't get to. I got busy.
Yeah, Andrew didn't really like it that much, except for one scene where Marilyn Monroe basically explains the theory of relativity to Einstein. And it's not like he didn't know it. It's that she's explaining it in a way that seems fascinating, where she has like all these toy trains and a balloon and a light, and she explains the theory of relativity. It's a really good scene. Because there's a point where because it's the scene from the 7-Year Itch. It starts with that, where like all the guys are oogling her as like her dress gets blown up and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So like the first like 20 minutes of the movie is like all about that, and Einstein just trying to figure out. I forget what theory he's trying to work on. It's like how the universe was created or something like that.
I think so, but yeah. Like,
Vague. Yeah, it's vague. And then she goes. You know, her driver takes her away, and like he's just supposed to take her back to like wherever she goes, like her home or a hotel or whatever. But she wants to stop off at a thrift store, and she buys all these toys, and like, the fuck is this about? And then she just like shows up at Einstein's apartment, where he's supposed to speak at. He's working on some theory, but he's also supposed to speak at a peace conference, and Senator McCarthy like beating up Marilyn Monroe as he's like trying to like ogle her, and then him like yelling after a night of him like sleeping with a prostitute, and he's like punches her in the stomach and says, "I don't have to pay for it."
Wow.
And she bleeds all over the like the sheets and stuff like that. It's fucking
Kind
weird.
of dark.
Yeah,
Kind of funky.
it's comedy.
yeah, I didn't get that vibe.
You look at the
off of it.
trailer; it's portrayed as comedy in the trailer, but it's not really a comedy in the movie. So that was Insignificant. So yeah, I was like fell asleep watching the first half of the movie, then I kind of just picked spots to finish up watching Easy Rider this week. But I think I got most of the good stuff. So.
Okay, I watched it like 3 hours ago. So
It's a strange movie.
it is. It's a weird movie. It's it's a it's a 1960s indie film.
Well, that's what I was telling Andrew. Like one of the important things about this movie is it's a movie that captured the time it was made in. So, and I guess that was like not common, especially at the time. It's like, hey,
No.
here's all this drug hippie culture. Like, nobody's gonna put that to film. It's like, ah, we will.
Or if they did, they did it. They made a lot of drug hippie films, but they were always very exploitative,
Yeah.
and it always portrayed everyone in like a negative. And they were dumb movies. They were just like, it just portrayed everyone like drug crazed, sex fueled hippies destroying the American way or something. And this sort of different.
Yeah.
This is very much a movie of its time.
Hell of a soundtrack, though.
Oh yeah, one of the best soundtracks I'd ever heard.
Because I was like watching this and it's like, oh, that song, and it's like I could barely remember the art. They have like Wild Thing in there at one point, and I think they have some Creedence Clearwater song. Do they? Or I can't remember.
I don't remember this. I know they had. Yeah, they have. Let me find the soundtrack.
But it's like, oh, like this has to be like the first time this was used in a movie.
Oh
and,
yeah.
And like you hear these songs like appear in a bunch of movies afterwards. Like I've never heard this song, but obviously this has been in this movie before this movie. It's like, are they referencing that movie at all, or do they just like the song? Now I have to go back and recontextualize all.
This had Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Oh, who else? It had some weird movies I'd never heard. That Joe Cocker. Steppenwolf, of course, that was the intro song. And The Pusher, that was another one. I think this was the first movie that used music this way too.
And also, it was like a cheap movie, and you think about licensing music now, it's like,
Oh yeah.
all this music in this movie must have cost like millions of dollars, but no, it was just the music of that time, so it must have been cheap to license it at the time or something.
Oh yeah, I don't think there were any rules really. And this is the movie that made this inspired a lot of people to go buy motorcycles, especially Harley Davidsons.
Yeah, probably the most famous motorcycle in history.
Yeah, the Captain America bike. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just sold for like $1.5 million or something.
Yeah.
Most expensive bike ever sold. They weren't very realistic about the motorcycles though, because I believe those were panheads. I think.
Yeah.
With the hardtail lowrider with the panhead motor. These guys would have been constantly working on these bikes in this era. It would have almost constantly been.
Well, they do in the movie. They do have to stop at a farm and get their bikes repaired.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, his tire goes flat.
Oh, is it just a tire? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it came apart pretty easy, which is like, yeah, try that on a modern Harley. Look, it's like, oh, you need the K wrench and an adapter, and basically need to call a dealership and give them $500.
You sacrifice a virgin, let her blood drip down the tire.
I read somewhere that they made like three versions of each bike in case something happened to it. And so like the only bike that really survives is the bike they use at the end to like cause the wreck.
No.
Yeah.
And so the other ones were stolen or disassembled and sold for parts. And so somebody actually rebuilt the bike that they destroyed, and that's like the only bike that's actually considered like a part of the movie. Is that the one they sold for like $1 million or whatever?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And Phil Spector was in this movie.
Oh, it was.
I don't know if you picked up on that. Yeah,
No.
he's a guy in Rolls Royce.
Oh shit. What parts does that happen? Because I like
Right at the beginning.
Oh, it
He's
is.
like coming back from Mexico with the cocaine
Oh,
and the batteries, and the guy meets him with the Rolls Royce.
yeah. That's how this fucking movie starts. It's like, let's go to this junkyard and do cocaine off a broken car mirror.
Yeah. That's how he has all that money in his gas tank. That's from selling cocaine in Mexico. Which that's what's one of the things that's cool about this movie, for all its weird, jumpy filming and stuff like that. Is it's like these are guys like, we're out looking for the American dream, see what the country's like, and it basically everything every cultural touchstone in the '60s is ruined by this movie. It's like, well, this is all fake and hollow, and all these people are just damaged or deranged in one way or another. These two guys are coke dealers. They get killed by hillbillies in the end.
But I like all like Jack Nicholson's weird like monologues and stuff about aliens and what freedom actually is.
Well, this is Dennis Hopper's conversations in this movie that became the archetype for stoned hippie talk. Because Dennis Hopper, if you pay attention, played that character in many movies after this, and he always played it exactly the same. Because he was in what was Heart of Darkness, or no,
Apocalypse Now.
Now he played that character. There's a bunch of other Dennis Hopper movies where he's that guy.
In his second marriage, he played that character.
Yeah, Andrew was cross-relating him because I was showing him some scenes, and he was just imagining him in Speed as that guy. Like, that's what happens when the American Dream fails you. Or no, it was watching the end of the movie, and the hillbilly shoots him, and it's like that's what created all the rage for him. Put a bomb on a bus.
Yep.
Like,
That's why his hand was fucked up. But yeah, this is a good movie. This was a much more poignant, less funny kind of, because another movie I always when I think about the 60s and the 70s, it's I think about this movie and then Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which was made in the 90s, but it references this time and they kind of have the same speech.
Yeah.
Like at the end, it's like, well, we blew it. And it's like, yeah, that seems to be a trope that comes up with a lot of these movies, especially these, highly, these period pieces. I never really realized how weird hippies were, though. Like, especially like the sex cult out in the desert. And we're going to dance and have a prayer of, may these seeds we planted grow so that we may share them. But it's really stilted, like straightforward delivery. It's like, is that guy supposed to be high or just nuts?
Well, I was just wondering how you discover these things at that time. Because it's not like, media and communication. It's like just like telephones. But like these guys are never on a telephone with anybody. Like no one's getting mail. Like they're just driving around and just end up in each other's way somehow.
Well, picked up hitchhikers and he takes them to the hippie commune.
Yeah, it's a form of communication. Just pick up hitchhikers. Like, where you going? We'll take you there.
Hey, are you a man? Do you want to ride on my motorcycle in close proximity to my ass? Like, no, don't. Yeah, if you're a chick, get on the back.
Yeah, I like when Jack Nicholson it's like, do you have a helmet? He's like, oh boy, do I have a helmet? It's like a football helmet. He's driving around.
Yeah, I like the Jack Nicholson character as the.
Was he supposed to be from Michigan? Or no, I guess not, because he has like a southern accent. Okay, so we're on the M on. He has like a yellow M on his shirt, and I usually associate that with Michigan. But
it could have been. I didn't pick that up.
But he has a southern accent, so it probably.
Yeah. And he's a lawyer.
Yeah, the Wikipedia thing says he's supposed to be an ACLU lawyer.
Yeah.
Which I guess would make some sense.
That's why he gets beat to death by hillbillies in the woods. Did you listen? Did you hear the Dennis Hopper commentary?
No, I didn't get to listen to it.
It was kind of a weird, dark, jumpy commentary it's
like the movie.
Yeah, well, it would play for 30 minutes. He wouldn't say anything. It's like, oh, is the commentary turned off? And he'd jump in. Oh, I remember these guys. Like, because like the hillbillies in the town where they went to the restaurant with the girls, those were actually local people. Like that was like the sheriff. The girls were the girls. But Dennis Hopper told them, because they were kind of excited because like a camera crew had showed up and it was this weird movie and it was a weird time. He's like, I want you to treat us like we just raped and murdered a girl outside of town. You know about it. That's the kind of hatred I want to see projected to it. Like, well, that's weird. Like, because he said when he was going to town to film this movie, a bunch of the local theater troupe people would show up and stuff. He's like, no, I want the real local, I want kind of crooked tooth, weird looking hillbillies and the sheriff, that just would love to lynch someone. And that's what he found. And so the guys in the restaurant, like those, and the women too, were all like local people.
Yeah, and I never thought like of Dennis Hopper as a director, but yeah, he was pretty interesting. Like, is this the first movie he directed, or?
Yeah, and it kind of broke his friendship with Peter Fonda, because they filmed 80 hours to get this, make this movie, and the people that were tasked with editing it, they said watching this and trying to edit it was like watching someone shit on the movie screen. There was just long scenes of exposition and dialogue, stuff that went on for like 45 minutes. Like, what are you filming? You know, they actually thought they were going to have to like give a bunch of the money back in order not to be sued. But then when they got it edited together, it's like, oh, okay. And then everyone wanted to fight over money, and that's kind of what broke the friendship there.
You heard something like there during editing, he was influenced by 2001: A Space Odyssey. He thought like, oh, I can do like really long, drawn out scenes and make this like a 3-hour movie.
Yep, they did a lot of that, a lot of helicopter shit. Yeah,
but then they cut it down. It's only like an hour and 40-minute movie. Right?
Yeah, it's not very long. But I mean, I think they probably boiled it down to the best scenes of dialogue, because really this is just a road film where people stop and talk.
Yeah.
About the culture and about what's going on, but yeah, like there's no character development in this movie. Like nobody knows. You don't know much about anyone, what their backstory is, other than
Peter Fonda barely talks.
Yeah, Peter Fonda just looks like Peter Fonda.
Just women swoon over him.
Yep. I'd like to meet your friend. He's beautiful. Oh, that's good.
Can I have the tall one? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And they go to the whorehouse scene, and then they take the acid from the desert hippies, and everyone freaks out at the graveyard and down in New Orleans, the above ground graveyard. That was kind of weird. Actually, some people like think that's a great scene. I was kind of like bored with it. It's like, okay, how long is this gonna go on?
Well, I had it on the background here when me and Andrew were just talking. We just basically talked over it. It's like, oh, there's a nipple occasionally, and then there's just weird flashing editing, people screaming.
Yeah, just strange editing, cameras being zoomed in and out rapidly. It's like, that's not okay.
As I was telling him about the scene where Jack Nicholson dies, and I explained to him, it was like, oh, like everybody gets clubbed in the middle of the night, but Jack Nicholson gets clubbed to death, and then Dennis Hopper pulls out a knife, and then I have to explain, like, okay, that's what you're supposed to know what happens. What happens, like, you see some guys walk near them, and then people are screaming, Dennis Hopper has a knife, and then everyone has blood on him, and Jack Nicholson's dead.
Yeah, not exactly. You could really piece that together to get that out of it. But, you know, basically, kind of almost an early guerrilla film, the way it was filmed. Sometimes.
Well, I said this is like the influence of, like, let's give a bunch of avant-garde directors, like, a little money and just to make whatever they want, see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, this film made $60 million, which is a lot.
It was the third highest grossing movie that year, I think, underneath, like, The Graduate and something else.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I'm guessing, did the magazine come afterwards? And does it have anything to do with this movie?
It's a good question. I don't know about that. The magazine's called Easy Writers.
Oh, okay.
They didn't have to pay for rights, I'm sure. But I don't know. I'm guessing it came after, 1971, so it came after this. But that's more about a rough biker lifestyle.
Well, it's just about having cool bikes and then having sexy women, like, lay on top of them.
Yeah, which is fine.
Sometimes not sexy, Colin. Sometimes just loose.
Somebody's jerking off to it.
Yeah.
Right, is that the bike or the woman that you're ejaculating to? What can it be both?
All runs together after a while. And this was like Peter Fonda's I think this was his biggest movie.
Is it? Oh, okay.
I mean, he did other things. He did things before this.
Yeah.
And but after this, there wasn't a lot of big successes. I mean, the last movie I saw him in was 3:10 to Yuma. And that was like, what, 10, 12 years ago? One with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Because Peter Fonda was one of the gun shoot slingers or something.
Well, yeah, he's always been kind of like a B-movie actor. Because Henry Fonda, is that his dad?
Yeah.
He was more of a mainstream star, and he's always kind of like a lesser than. But he was like a big B-movie star.
Yeah.
And he did some motorcycle movie before this that was like a big B-movie.
I think it was like Hell's Angels or something like that.
Something vaguely like that, yeah.
It was called Attractive Guy a Girl Wants to Fuck on a Motorcycle.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie did have a great soundtrack, and it captured the time.
Yeah.
Because everyone in the '60s kind of had a look, especially women. Like nobody's emulated that look since then. Those weird hairstyles, that kind of overly made up thing. Because like when I think of like women in the '60s, like that is a static image of. I mean, well, nobody's really ever gone back to style. You know, I mean, no one's doing the Victorian age either. But this definitely like women in the '60s, like, oh yeah, that's they have a unique look.
Why isn't powdered makeup and lead-based makeup coming back in a huge way?
It will be. I mean, it's everything's on a cycle. So I want to see wigs come back for men. Those powdered white wigs and those big frilly collars.
I think I'm good with
I want to dress like the John Pertwee Doctor Who. I always thought he could rock that's a good 60s, 70s outfit.
Vaguely reminds me of a side mission in Fallout New Vegas. So these things are called ghouls, and they're just people that have been like super irradiated but can survive radiation.
Yeah.
But they basically look like corpses. They look like zombies. Like they don't have noses.
Showed me this stuff. Yeah.
So there was a guy. He was just a human, but he just like considered himself a ghoul. And there's like this weird kind of cult. They're just trying to take these rockets from this old abandoned rocket factory, and they want to take these rockets and go up in space. He was convinced he was a ghoul, and like they just went along with it. And it's like, well, you're not really coming along with us because there's too much radiation. You'll die. But the only reason he thought he was a ghoul is because he was in a vault, and he worked there a time, and he started balding, and he thought it was because of the radiation. But it wasn't. He just went bald, and he thought people like thought he was disgusting and despicable because he was a ghoul, and not just because he was balding.
He's overestimating.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a good movie. It's a weird movie. I enjoyed it. It's definitely a product of its time.
Yeah.
I've watched this movie several times.
What spurred you to watch it the first time?
Just because I'd heard about it,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, this is like a crazy '60s film." It's kind of border. Because I had the guy describe it to me because I watched it when I was in my early 20s, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of a weird, arty '60s film, but yeah, you know, it talks a lot about hippies and hillbillies and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. Because this movie kind of spawned, I think, a lot of movies had this gritty, granular look in the '70s. And this movie, you know, had like a lot of nudity and violence and things like that in it, which for its time was probably considered. I mean, they had a lot of exploitation films that were like that, but this was sort of different.
Well, people are like citing this as giving rise to like, you know, Scorsese and Spielberg and stuff like that.
I don't know about that, but
well, it's like more auteur people. Like, I mean, if you look at their early works, maybe you look like Duel and shit like that, or
oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Or like Scorsese's, like, was it
Taxi Driver,
Boxcar? Yeah, what was the one? Was it Boxcar Birthday? He did some weird like movie for. Well, he did a bunch of movies for. God damn it, what's the guy? Does all the cheap movies.
Corman?
Yeah, Roger Corman. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did like 3 Corman movies.
Yeah, this was kind of walking the line between art and sexploitation.
Yeah.
With a very,
but
like,
somehow mainstream.
Oh, and it was shot in '67 and '68, but you know it took that long to come out.
Yeah.
Because it won, I think it won the Cannes Film Festival, and
Yeah.
they're like, okay, we can market this now. We can put that on it because you know any film that wins a French Film Award must be good.
Yeah,
But it's kind of funny.
It's like there's 10 years between Easy Rider and Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, 69 and 71, yeah.
No, 79.
79, I mean, yeah.
I think Apocalypse Now came out in 79.
I think, well, it started production in like 74, but I think
Yeah. It was, yeah. It was a movie that took forever to get made.
Well, your main actor has a serious heart attack right at the beginning. You've already shot a bunch of scenes with him, and then the other part, the antagonist in the movie, is, you know, such an easy guy to work with. Start going over his lines. He's ready to go. He's like, yeah, you're a special forces commando. What are you coming in at now? About 325 pounds? Okay. Shoot a lot of dark shit and you kind of just have your head. Because, yeah, you're not making a believable commando. And then you want to do this dialogue? I hate your dialogue. Okay, just say whatever. And, you know, Martin Sheen will stare at you like, what the fuck? 'Cause that's sort of the action we want anyway. Still great dialogue.
Oh yeah, apparently like all the drugs featured in the movie were real drugs, and did they just actually do the drugs and film each other?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Why,
yeah.
why wouldn't you? I mean, they were all doing the drugs.
Yeah,
making
yeah.
them, so it's like, fuck it. What, we need prop joints?
Well, you had a story about Jack Nicholson, didn't you? Like him being actually being drunk
there's
or
a
something.
story that somebody talked about because they filmed him being like the fireside like chat, the big monologue.
Yeah.
The part where he's sober, he's entirely stoned, like out of his fucking gourd because they smoked like 20 joints together doing those scenes. But they film him backwards, so like when he's high, he's pretending to be high, but then when he's high, he's pretending to be sober. So it's like really great acting on his part because he's like not exactly in the right character or frame of mind. Oh crap! Sorry.
Yeah, and he heard the who was the character actor Rip Torn, heard about his lawsuit against Dennis Hopper because Rip Torn was the guy who was supposed to play the lawyer in the jail.
Yeah.
Last minute, they changed it to Jack Nicholson because they liked him more. And then Dennis Hopper went on Late Night with Jay Leno or something like years later. Like this was within the last 15 years or so. He said, yeah, Rip Torn pulled a knife on me, said he was going to kill me if I gave that role to Jack Nicholson. Rip Torn was like, fuck you. He took him to court and sued him, won like $500,000.
And they threw confetti all over.
Rip
Yeah.
Torn has like a lot of weird feuds in Hollywood.
Yeah, I think he's an angry guy.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, I mean, if someone's just going to totally talk shit about you, too.
Yeah, I can't remember what other feud he is in with some. It was from Men in Black, for some reason. Some feud from him and Men in Black.
Oh, was it with...
I don't know who it's with. It might be with Tommy Lee Jones or something. I can't remember. Because I think he's not in the third one,
Oh, okay.
but I can't remember.
Oh, shame, you got cut out of the worst. I mean, best one.
Well, I mean, 2 is terrible. So
They've all
3,
had
I
dimension.
thought 3 was all right.
Yeah.
I like the idea that they were gonna make like a weird Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover movie. I thought that was kind of exciting because that sounded like the dumbest idea possible. It's like the right direction for 21 Jump Street, but then they got rid of it. You discovered any current Rip Torn feuds?
No, I can't really find one.
That's all right.
It's not really that important. I type in celebrity feuds and it's The Rock versus Vin Diesel. It's like that's not the one I was looking.
Everybody cares about that, even though I don't think there's a new Fast and Furious movie in production yet. I know they've ordered another 3 or so, but
yeah, I think there's. I mean, they got to be working on one, but the thing that they were feuding about is that he was supposed to get a secondary, like The Rock and Jason Statham were going to get like their own movie together.
yeah,
But for some reason, Vin Diesel didn't want them to do that.
because it doesn't include him.
Yeah, or something. Because it wasn't going to be a Fast and Furious movie. It was just going to be like a Fast and Furious adjacent movie. But
Why do people get that? I mean, I know there's a lot of fragile.
well,
egos.
it's not like Vin Diesel has anything else going other than being Groot.
Waiting for another Riddick installment.
I mean, he has the rights back to that, but I'm not sure if they're going to do anything more with that.
Fucking $200 million. Get David Torrey on the phone. Let's go.
Why can't he?
Well, that's why I did that third movie was like a really fairly cheap movie compared to that second one, because
Yeah.
it's like, all right, well, no one's gonna come out in droves to see this movie, but we'll make another like $20 million independent sci-fi movie.
I loved Chronicles of Riddick. I was watching that. It's like, oh, this is the greatest thing since Dune. Everyone would hate this, but goddamn, this is fucking amazing. Just the necromongers. Like, if I had lots of money and black marble, it's like that's exactly what my house would look like. Oh.
So
Just the ships and everything. It was like, oh, this is a fiasco, but I love it.
So what you're saying is he's not gonna make the Pacifier 2 or like Quadruple X.
No,
Or...
wait, no, somebody else did the Pacifier too. Wasn't it like The Rock or something? Wasn't there a sequel?
I think there was a sequel.
Oh no, maybe I'm thinking of the Tooth Fairy.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's the two Tooth Fairy movies, but no, it's Larry the Cable Guy is in
The second one, right? Yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't know why, but yeah, he's. But yeah, at the same time, like he's not gonna tap any of those properties like another Triple X movie. I mean, those.
No, he did another one.
No, I know he did,
Bombed.
but another one on top of that one, and then, you know, fuck, what other movies? Didn't he do like another sci-fi like action movie where it was like the end of the world, like Babylon AD or something?
Yeah, it was like
that?
yeah, that's yeah.
Does it do Babylon BC? Or, like,
But I mean, the Fast and Furious franchise is a huge franchise, and I believe he's a producer on it. So, as long as they're making money, he's making a shit ton of money.
They should skip right to the end and do Slow and Lethargic. Just them in wheelchairs racing around a nursing retirement home, feuding about.
Shit, there was a joke about that. It was like Fast and Furious 20 and something was out.
It's like him and The Rock confined to beds and seeing who can piss their catheter bag full the fastest. And
Always got to compete.
who can pop as many Viagra as possible to keep a boner for longer. Just stupid fucking shit no one cares.
I remember they had some Twitter feud because, like, you know, The Rock is, like, you know, in his like mid-40s and he's in like the best shape of his life, or at least he's just a very large, muscly man with no body fat. And then like Vin Diesel came in like all dumpy and stuff, and like, you know, in the script it's like this supposed to be basically like of equal strength, and he's like, how's this guy gonna beat me up? How's this tub of shit gonna beat me up?
He's gonna make you not want to fight him because of pity. That's how it's gonna work. Like, I pity you. I mean, I don't think Vin Diesel's normally. I mean, he's gotten like pretty nicely jacked for roles, but not like he's never been overly muscular.
I mean, he's for a Hollywood guy. He's pretty, like, he kind of resembles more of those like '80s, more along the lines of like modern action guys. He's more of that kind of the '80s type, just like big chested, big arm guy.
I mean, because I mean, if you think about it, like if you're a close combat specialist and you're taking guys down and like doing a bunch of martial arts moves, maybe being really muscular helps. But if you're just fucking standing from afar shooting at people, that doesn't really come into the equation.
Yeah,
that is like more muscles don't stop more bullets. Like, that's not how it works. Like,
that was the thing. I was fucking weirded out by an I guess not weirded out by it, but it's like it was just another reason to not like the newest season of Westworld. Is that okay? So all the security guys, like, they're basically all getting killed. Yeah. All the security people are wearing fucking armor, and not one piece of armor stops any fucking bullet.
So it's like Stormtrooper
armor. Why are they wearing that armor if it's not stopping anything?
And then the only thing is like, oh, because that's a great place to hide a squib so blood can fly out. Like, the only reason they're wearing armor is so it can look like they can die better.
That's funny because there's a new Star Wars tabletop game called Legion, and somebody was explaining to me the rules, and they're like, well, if you're the rebels, your infantry suck a little more because they don't have any armor. And I'm like, wait, the stormtroopers don't have any armor? Like, they do, but they don't ever stop anything. Like, no, stormtroopers have armor in this game. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You're just writing a whole new alternate history here. But yeah.
No. Yeah, because I went and ran through, like, because I stopped watching around like that good episode.
Yeah.
And then I caught back up again.
Mr. Delos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then when I start burning everything.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. It's like, oh
wow. So yeah, and I watched, like, you know, the recent like 6 episodes, and boy, they didn't turn that around. We'll talk about it later because Andrew's still needs
Yeah.
to catch up.
Basically, one guy encapsulated it perfectly. They said all the ideas they introduced in Westworld they could have done in the first 3 episodes. And not this fucking exposition about a globe on a table or whatever else they were doing. And yeah, they're right. They because the first season was spectacular. Like they just did a great job, and it was you were interested every week. It was something new. This season, it's like, yeah, I get what they're trying to do, but I'm still not enjoying it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying.
I mean, it's exceptionally well produced. I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a weird. Maybe it's that middle child syndrome. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I just say like it's like, oh man, they got a year to figure this shit out. Nope.
It's still a great show, but whew, it's not a. If it was its own thing, separate from the first season, it'd be like that was pretty cool. But your expectations were so high,
Yeah.
and maybe that's part of the problem too, because the first one, you didn't have any expectations. Because when they started running ads for it, it's like Westworld, that Yul Brynner shit from the '70s. How could they make that good? It's like, oh, this is how. But yeah, then it just sort of jumped off the rails. I don't know what they're doing. But we won't ruin it for Andrew.
At least The Expanse is really good this year.
Yeah, The Expanse was really good. I'm glad that got picked up.
Everything got that. We were talking about that Lucifer show. Like, was also having a campaign to pick it up. So Netflix picked up that show.
Oh, okay.
So
good.
basically, nothing got canceled this year.
Yeah,
Except for Last
one
Man
of
on
the
Earth, I'm
executives at Netflix sacrificed their job by saying racist shit in meetings.
Yeah, some executive got fired because he said
Like the
racist
third
shit
guy in the
in
company
front
or
of his
something.
coworkers. I don't know what level he was, but I heard about that today. I just didn't read the
Communications,
story.
executive communications director, basically like communicates.
He was
with the
communicating.
I mean, I don't know what the story. I heard different things. I heard actually what he said. That he didn't like use racial language towards people, like call someone racial things. It was basically, we need to stop running so much comedy that says the N-word in it, but he actually said the N-word in a meeting room full of people. And of course somebody immediately, ran with that. And probably was like, this guy was a jerk to me once at the copying machine. I'm going to ruin his career. I'm sure he's probably not some crazy racist if he's working at Netflix, but I don't know.
I also saw the recent season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and the first episode they have like a weird thing where they like are turned into black people, but like only when they look in the mirror. So very like Quantum Leap.
Leap, yeah.
And that Scott Bakula is actually in that episode.
It'd be cool if they did like every episode of Quantum Leap where there's like da-da-da-da, where like when he sees himself in the mirror, if they did that every time they look in the mirror too, that'd be fucking hilarious.
But yeah, like Frank is like, it's like, we can say the N-word now, right? He's like, no, Frank, you can't say the N-word, but I'm black.
I'm really surprised that nobody's actually tried, for all the stupid remakes they've tried to do, like Bionic Woman and Knight Rider and shit, how nobody's tried to remake Quantum Leap yet.
I mean, I don't know who's, I guess.
Still stands up.
I guess, well.
No, it stands up just fine.
The idea works. I'm not sure about the acting, but.
I rewatched it recently enough. I thought it was still pretty
Okay.
good show.
I think the idea.
Not every episode's a gold piece
No.
of like fucking.
Well, I guess I enjoyed that show when I was a kid, but I guess the things I remember it being like more embarrassing than maybe it's less embarrassing than I remember. But I remember it being kind of like an embarrassing show. Not that it was like poorly produced. It was just like they intentionally put him in embarrassing situations. Like, well, this probably won't hold up. But then I actually do things like there's a point where he's like, he plays all different kinds of people and they deal with social issues. So
I mean, it's still not as embarrassing as Marty almost fucking his mom in Back to the Future, if that's what you're going for. I mean,
Speaking of old shows that don't hold up well, Babylon 5 has finally come to Amazon.
Oh, really?
And I've been binge watching Babylon 5 because I don't remember being able to see all of them for some reason.
Yeah, well, I think it was syndicated, so sometimes it depends on who had it.
It would fade in and out, and they're like, boy, that first season, that was rough.
Oh, is-
I'm surprised I got a second season. It was like, wow, this is a mess. But, well, see, it changed a lot. That's one of those shows that the through line story, that was one of the first shows to do that. where it's like we're not just going to have multi-episode through lines, we're going to have a like series arc episode. But that didn't really start until like right at the end of season 1, beginning of season 2.
Yeah, I've heard that's a good sci-fi show. I just never got a chance to watch it.
It is good. It's well written. It's the acting's not great in some parts of it, and the special effects look terrible. But that was also the first time they used CG on TV, and they shot it in a weird ratio where you can't, like some old TV shows, you can like blow them up big and make them HD, and it's like, well, that's definitely of its time, but it doesn't look bad. But Babylon 5, like if you try to make it HD, those ships get real blocky and pixelated.
Yeah.
So they actually, to improve it, they would have to reshoot those scenes to make it. It doesn't hold up well at all. And people have been begging for a reboot for years, but there's some kind of hate thing between Warner Brothers and Straczynski, and they own the broadcast rights to it, and they'll never give them up because they don't want somebody else to do it better.
Yeah, I think in the intro they explain how there was 4 different Babylons.
Yeah.
And so I think for the longest time I assumed there was 4 other shows preceding this.
Each one never made it more than a year, except for the last one. And they never really explain why until... Well, that's one of those shows that also I've noticed, this developed and changed a lot. This was not what it was. At the end, it was awesome, but kind of at the beginning and sort of through the first part of it, it's like, this is not that good. It was good for the time, but then by season 3, it became timeless. Then it got really weak in season 4 and then came back strong in season 5.
And then they had that 1-season spin-off show, Crusader, on TNT.
And then they had several movies.
Oh, was there actual movies or there were TV movies? Okay.
Yeah, TNT, I think they made 4 of them or something.
Huh.
I
don't know if I've seen any of those or not.
Yeah, well, it basically tells the end of the Shadow War and what happened to Sheridan later on, and or not Sheridan. Yeah, the main guy.
Bruce Boxleiter.
Sinclair was the first guy, then Sheridan was the second. And that first guy, I didn't realize the sad tragedy of why he left the show. It's horrible.
What's that?
He went insane. And he knew it too. And he was like, "You got to write me out of the show." It's like, why? He goes, "I'm hallucinating. I'm going crazy." He had serious mental problems, but he knew it. He's like, "I know none of this shit's real, but I don't know what his problems were." But that show's kind of had a weird death thing around it anyway, because a lot of the actors in it have died,
or their careers have.
Well, I mean, those guys weren't awesome. Bruce Boxleiter was like a big name.
Sounds like a ripoff of Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
You know the guy from Tron? No.
Kind of. Well, he was also on Scarecrow and Mrs. King. Where he was, I forget what that one was. But yeah. I've been watching Babylon. Still enjoy it. But it's because the practical effects, the physical effects are definitely of their time, like the makeup for the aliens and stuff. That all looks fine. But it's just the space stuff looks really, really bad.
Yeah, I'd have to, I have to imagine, things like Sequest, that has to, not hold up at all, because that was, early TV CGI.
There's a name for all that stuff. Babylon 5, because you just mentioned Sequest. There's another one. They call that the Amiga era of CG. Because what they did was they just tied a bunch of computers together from that time, Amiga computers, parallel, and it still took hours and hours and hours to render the simplest shit.
Yeah.
Is there
because in Babylon 5, most of the laser blasts and stuff, those aren't CG. That's just stuff because it's fuck, we can barely get the ship stable. So those are pinned in later, or however they did that.
Well, there's another sci-fi show I never watched that was supposedly good called Andromeda, or whatever. It had the guy who played Hercules in it, I think, for fucking as one of the main characters or whatever. But I think it was just on WB or CW for 3 or 4 years, but supposedly it was decent sci-fi.
Yeah, it was like Farscape. It was kind of just odd, but it was,
yeah, the one with, the guy who played Hercules.
Yeah,
Paul Sorb.
Yeah. Now they tried to play up that it was Gene Roddenberry. It's like a Gene Roddenberry thing.
Yes, Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Why does it say that? Well, he wrote his name next to the word Andromeda. From the archives.
And there was some other like alien invasion show they had on like it was actually I think that was syndicated too, that they played up the Gene Roddenberry connection for that.
Oh yeah, the invasion.
I'm not sure if it's called like that. It was like Mutant X or some weird shit like that. I can't remember.
Gene Roddenberry's Cash Grab on TNT, 7 o'clock.
Gene Roddenberry created the best science fiction series that Harlan Ellison wrote the best stories for the 60s.
And then also like I was like I almost don't want to go back to because in my head it's like the perfect show almost, and just like gritty sci-fi, a space above and beyond. Like that has to be terrible now, right?
Yeah, I mean special effects wise, yeah, that was when the like half the the writing team from the X-Files defected to write gritty space drama.
Yeah.
I remember that being some cool elements to that show, but it didn't hold together very well.
Well, I remember that having like 4 seasons, but apparently there was only 2 seasons, so.
I thought there was only 1.
Or maybe there is only 1. Well, I remember like, because I remember like the cliffhangers, like they steal that alien ship and then they have to like go and like to a planet try to bomb it, but then it crashes on the planet, so they have to rescue the guy. So in my mind, that's the end of season 1, and then there's a season 2, but I can't remember.
I mean, look, I think I only made it once.
And there's that one great episode where they use Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire, and there's like that one kind of Red Baron alien shit that's going with like English writing on it that's going out there killing all the people.
Oh, it's only 1 season, but 23 episodes.
Oh,
so.
okay.
Vicious production cycle.
Maybe it was like a mid-season break or something.
Because I knew they were like fighter pilots off of some kind of space carrier.
Yeah.
And every mission they went on was a suicide mission, which like that seems like a horrible waste of resources.
Let's take these 8 pilots and make them be pilots, special forces. Like they have to be.
I remember at one point they were on like an armored vehicle on the ground.
Yeah.
These guys are like naval aviators or something.
And that was like a ghost planet.
Yeah. The aliens were fucked up and weird, though. I do remember that because they seemed brutal and implacable, but then they kind of explained it's like, oh, you killed millions of us, and we didn't even. It had something to do with our space drives, like would disrupt, or it would kill them or something. So they just thought we were just complete monsters that were doing that on purpose, but it never really developed. I remember the aliens were called the Chigs. They had a weird. And they would always, if you ever captured one, they would hit like a suicide thing and like melt inside their suit.
Yeah.
It's always something strange going on with them. Because I remember the last episode. Again, this is another thing. Now the guys are all negotiating with this one alien that wants to talk to him. That's one of the bad aliens or whatever. And it's like, oh, now they're ambassadors. It's like you think learning to fly a spaceship would be difficult enough, but. No, you're a commando and an ambassador. Yeah, that didn't last because that was a James Hong, Glenn Morgan joint.
Yeah.
Because then they went back and did some more X-Files, and I think they did Millennium.
Yeah,
too.
they did Millennium.
I think one of the things with Space Above and Beyond that killed it, though, was very expensive to make, and it didn't draw viewers.
Well,
the quality of the show was just it's not getting enough viewership for its money.
Well, they saved some money because there's some movie, and it might have been Starship Troopers. I'm not sure that like they just got all the production stuff from that. Oh no, maybe it was Alien, something like that. They got a bunch
it had a similar look.
Because they basically just had like a lot of it was just the Space Marines from Aliens. Like a lot of the stuff had that kind of look to it.
Yeah, I do remember that show. I was always hopeful. It's like, what happened after the conference? Oh, it got canceled. Okay. Well. But again, 23 episodes, 1 season, and not all of them were strong. Some of them were. Oh, they had robots or like artificial humans in that too. Because they had like the humans that were grown in vats.
Oh, yeah.
and they were considered second-class citizens.
Yeah, because there's that one guy who's like he barely has emotions and he's on the team. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had actual AI robots, which revolted against people at some point, but they looked like people. They were kind of like replicants. Because remember, they were obsessed with gambling. Like, you could always trick them. It's like, okay, if I throw these dice and I get a 7, you don't kill me. And they're like, they're obsessed with gambling.
I vaguely remember that. I'm about to go back and watch the show.
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. And I know they have grenades that you throw them, and then they just, like, track people. Like, is that a grenade or a missile? What is that at that point? Because you, like, throw it, and it, like, follows people around corners. They had weird elements in that show. I do remember it stood out, though, to me as, like, this could be cool, and nope, didn't happen. Another missed opportunity. But that's when I was, like, a teenager, and that stuff seemed exciting. Now it would just all seem kind of silly. It's like, you wouldn't have people doing all this shit. They'd be in emotional basket cases. Nobody can face death 30 times a week. Completely insane. I can barely get it together to drive to work.
Yeah, I remember that, like, that Red Baron episode where, like, the captain of the ship has to, like, has some implant that keeps him from being sick. And he has to, like, take it out and, like, learn how to fly again to take on, like, this Red Baron alien.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then, like, there's, like, some other guy who's supposed to be a badass, and then, like, they work together, and it's, like, that dude and the alien ship end up getting, like, sucked into, like, a black hole, and it's, like, playing Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire.
Okay. Yeah. We'll have to check that out again if it ever comes back. Any cycle.
Yeah, it's probably in some streaming service. I remember seeing it there once, but I don't know. We'll find out. Anyways, yeah.
Anyway, so Easy Rider. In Space Above and Beyond. Find it if it still exists. So anyway, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Colin.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.